2, 1.
Hey guys, welcome back, AfterBuzzers. This is the Flash After Show, Season 3, Episode 22, Infantino Street. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, nerds. I'm your host, Tauri Miller, and you can find me at Tauri J, Taurijay, and this episode was so great, I'm joined by, one could say, legends of AfterBuzz. So, introduce yourselves, guys, starting to my left, Lacretia Lyon.
We are outcast, we are misfits, and of course we are legends. And since I am Lacretia Lyon, guys, you can find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
Lex Michael.
I am Lex Michael. I am all over social media at the Lex Michael.
And hey, folks, yes, I'm sure nobody asked for me to be on another DC After Show, so I came by to just rile everything up for you, folks. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie.
He's the Martin Stein of the group. Man, this is a jam-packed episode, so I'm gonna jump right into it. Jumping into it, starting with Argus. We had a crazy heist, which included our favorite, Captain Cold.
Yes.
I mean, he's my favorite. I don't know
Mine
how
too.
you guys feel about him.
Well, we all watched this episode together. Am I on? Hello? Am I here? Hi, guys. We all watched this episode together, and you guys watched the moment when Barry goes back in time and recruits the good Leonard Snart from a year ago on Legends of Tomorrow, but in 1892.
Yes.
I was so overcome with joy that I had to literally put down my headphones and take a moment so that the heat didn't take me down. It would have happened. I would have hit the floor. It would have been a mess.
Yeah.
I was just such good feelings, just overpowered with good, wonderful, joyful coldness feelings.
Yes, you almost became Firestorm. You were so on fire.
It almost, my eyes turned white and everything. My head was aflame. It was a whole deal.
It's true. You started transmuting tables. It was insane.
A whole pile of jelly beans out there in the studio right now, if anybody's wanting
Ooh, all
some.
right.
Oh, those Reagan's jelly beans?
Is there any other kind?
Yeah. And based on what you were saying, like, I think in terms of the Legends timeline, this was right after we had that kind of love affair-y thing with Snart and the woman from Russia, where they went out and he was trying to seduce her. So it made sense that Barry appealed to his love.
Oh, look at that. You know, I mean, it was cool to see Snart, for sure. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing, at least with Legends, while it was interesting for them to make the choice to kill Snart, but I also feel like you also realize how awesome he is, and so to try to come up with ways to have him in present-day activities for the DC TV universe, you have to just constantly go back in time if you want to use him.
Yeah, and they can go back in time anytime for Snart. I mean, I'm sorry. I just love Leonard Snart.
I did. I had a moment tonight where it occurred to me, it's like, oh, I've been waiting all season since we read that Wentworth Miller had signed that overall deal to appear on more than one of these shows in this universe. I kept waiting for this moment, this big moment where we would reintroduce Leonard Snart. And I realized, oh, we don't have to. He's just around because we've got multiple time travel shows now. We just grab him whenever we need him.
And we
Right.
do know for a fact, guys, if you've not seen the interview I did with Wentworth, that the voice is Eartha Kitt, and a little bit of Darth Vader, a little bit of Betty Davis. You know, and he just nails it every time. You know, I love that he watched Shark Week. That was probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah, so... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and he's like, Cisco saves my life. I'll put in a good word with my sister. So to mention Golden Glider was pretty cool.
Well, I love how, again, we talk about how comic booky these shows have become increasingly over the last couple of years. Since Flash really became popular, I think all of these shows have been willing to, we've seen the universe expand and everybody's taking way bigger chances as far as how deep cuts comic booky can we get. And I love too that this universe has been in play long enough with enough moving parts that we can weave in a character like Snart in and out of the narrative like this, and we can have jokes now where it's, I'll put in a good word for Cisco with my sister, because we know without stopping the story to talk about what that means, we know exactly who all of the players in that comment are, what the significance is for everybody, and it feels very like almost like a soupçon of Susan is like a tasting. It's actually a big platter.
I was like,
It's the
big words,
opposite of
Lex.
It's bigger. It's not a Susan. It's the opposite. It's just a cornucopia of like Easter eggage. And like this episode, more so than a lot of others we've seen from Flash this season, which I would argue is maybe the Easter eggiest of all these shows, even more so than Legends of Tomorrow at times. You're giving me, you got like a I've got beef face.
Actually,
Maybe a
Joey
little beef. Maybe a
Johnston
little
was wanting to hear Frank's beef. He's like, I can't wait to hear it. So
Well, my beef on this is like, well, one, if you're bringing back Snart to 2017, he dies, in 2016? Right. So at least Legends of Tomorrow timeline-wise, because he dies at the end of season
Right. Yes.
season 1. So I also feel like if you brought to 2017, why is Snart's not for a question? Like, why don't you just get me from right now? And then, we can't get you from right now. Why is that? Oh, because you're dead. Wait, what do you mean I'm dead?
Well, he could also assume that he's still traveling with the Legends
You
at
could
that
assume that, but then why not just go to where he is at that moment? Because how does Barry find out where he is anyway?
You could imagine that they all recounted all. This is our dynamic now. I'm going to explain away every single thing.
I love
you
it.
You're gonna eat all the beef.
Eat all my beef, Tori.
Go.
I love it, the beef. Where's the beef? Anyways, I mean, yes, you could assume that, like, in all of this time, because Cisco knew that Snart was dead, and during the crossover, they all had time to not decompress. Yes, I guess decompress. To kind of.
The word you're looking for is Susan.
No, yes, they had time to Susan. No, debrief is the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
They had time to debrief and kind of go over like their adventures. So you could assume that that he knew, or he also could have used the time vault and been like, "Yo, when were some legends making some messes in time?" And been like, "This is a good time to do it."
Yeah, there's definitely a scene that was cut for time tonight wherein Barry Allen just looks Snart dead in the eye and goes, "I'm definitely not recruiting you now because you're dead later." And Snart takes a pause and goes, "Tight." But it was too much. It was like, we're laboring the point. We're like 2 minutes over, so we got to cut something, and that scene had to go.
Yeah, they needed to keep it tight.
Would you rather, whether it be on Legends or some other show, do something where they reestablish that they, through whatever means they want, reestablish that Snart is alive and well back in present day DC TV, just so you don't have to worry about going through these loops about how we can bring Snart into any adventures going forward?
I feel like the problem with doing that becomes now we have to re-explain to him every time. If we're going to hang on. Let's answer the question. So if we're not going to reintroduce a definitive, this is our like hero Snart essentially into the main timeline, the problem that arises is every time you recruit Snart, you then have to come up with a different way to dance around why you just pulled him out of the timeline from X place. You essentially have to have the conversation we're having every single time you bring him back.
Right.
And you could do it, but after a while.
Yeah, you just want to have him just like come up through some way. We restore him, and he's alive and well, and now he's just living his life in 2017.
I could accept that just because I love Snart.
Yes.
But Shara Brock brings up a good point. She found it weird that Snart was almost the moral compass for Barry in this episode. And yeah, that was one of my favorite points where he's like, you see the good in me, I see the bad in you. But, you need to be a hero. That you need to show your goodness. That's how you beat Savitar.
Yeah, and I do think beyond the practical in-universe reasons for why he got Snart out of the place and time he got Snart from, on a meta storytelling level, it makes perfect sense that you would want a version of Leonard Snart as a foil for Barry, who is at this place in his journey towards becoming a hero. Whereas Barry is certainly not on the road to this version of Barry is presumably not going to become truly evil, but he's definitely in a much darker, more desperate place than I think Snart has certainly ever seen him. So the fact that they are on essentially opposite trajectories, getting that different push-pull dynamic from the two of them, I think was a really great choice.
Yeah, I'd agree. And we get that in the midst of a sweet, sweet infiltration.
So many Easter eggs.
Yes, so throughout this, we get the Suicide Squad piece, we get Grodd.
Cheetah is in there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I missed that.
Yeah, which is good, because you're very diligently taking notes. You're like, every Easter egg, but that's your Achilles heel. You are
true.
so good at your job that you missed the cheetah sign.
That's why I have you guys here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not doing a show by myself, because you guys catch all the things I don't.
We're both your heels, Tauri.
Oh, I can be your heel, baby. You can watch all of the things. You can catch my Easter eggs.
We need a GIF of this right now, internet, or at least clip it, something, because that was amazing.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's true. I think the most interesting part about it for me was Barry in Lila's body beating up those guards. Because you don't get to see Barry fighting in normal circumstances because he's always using speed and speed force, and so you're mostly seeing him run around and eventually punch things. So I thought that was a really interesting way to show that. Also, I like that Lyla got a chance to do some sweet moves.
Because this year, we haven't seen a ton of Lyla on any of these shows, and whenever we see Lyla, it seems like she's very, very busy running Argus, so she's only got enough time to very sternly talk to one or two of our characters and then go on her way. So it was nice to see Lyla a little more. That was the scene at the beginning was exactly what I'm used to seeing from Lyla this year. Was like, no, this is all very official, and I can't do it. Nope, can't, just cannot help you. No, boo, Barry Allen, boo.
that has been a lot of her this season, is booing Barry Allen.
And so, to be fair,
She loves Boo Berry.
Baby Sarah, R.I.P.
I know.
But where was I? I got sidetracked with emotion. But so to actually get her a little bit more involved in the story, and also in a physical capacity, was nice change of pace.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think another interesting part was that she was watching the whole heist the whole time, kind of just seeing what they would do. At any point, it seemed like she could have stopped them. Though, I mean, having King Shark there as a guard dog really was one of their biggest, I'd say, attributes.
Yeah, and thank God the Wave Rider has cable, because Shark Week is what saved the day, actually.
It's true. You learn a lot from Shark Week.
That's true.
Yeah.
They put him to sleep, and then it became Jaws for some reason.
That felt like a cute wink to the fact that King Shark is a very expensive effect. And we need to keep him off screen as much as we can so that when we have him on screen, we can utilize him to the fullest.
Yeah.
And I like, again, the show being very self-aware. Yes,
Yes.
you both agree.
I
Totally.
very much agree. And I like that you were saying that Lyla was very stern, but in the end, she ended up giving it to Barry just as like a, hey, kiddo, you did the right thing. Buck up, sir. And I liked that because, especially because in the other show, she recently had a somewhat crisis of faith in terms of what she does as the director of Argus. So having her turn and do this was a really good way of showing
Yeah, how easy it would be in that role to essentially become Amanda Waller. So it was nice you're right, to see her again make a choice that I could not see Amanda Waller making.
Right. What do you think, Frank?
I agree.
Good night, everybody.
Great. All right.
Yep.
Moving on.
No, it was cool to see Lyla in action, and I mean, probably my thoughts are more about other parts of the episode, so I will let you get to those.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well.
The chat has some
Meanwhile-
funny comments. Like Sarah
yeah.
Brock said, sorry, said giving it to Barry, LOL. And then, and Tony, I believe Wilson in the chat, correct me if I pronounced that wrong, brought up Cupid, how we saw Cupid
That's
as
right,
well.
yes,
Yeah,
Cupid's
yeah.
in there.
Oh,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
I miss Cupid.
Well, I think
I like her.
that was when we got the Suicide Squad comment.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Yes, because Cupid
'Cause they
was part
killed
of
everybody
that.
else.
Was part of that weird Suicide Squad thing that they had in Arrow a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was season 3?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 3, because 4 was when things happened.
Damien Dark.
So I'm gonna move on from Argus. So if any of your comments are about Argus,
I can't say them anymore. Then that's it. My time is
That's
gone.
true. Yeah,
That's it.
That window
All
is
right.
That's it.
Well,
closed.
we're done. Argus is dead.
53 minutes
Oh.
until we can't talk about Argus anymore. Right on the screen, everybody can
Put it
see
on.
it, so we know to be sad soon.
Because while this heist is going on, Tracy is trying to figure out the last pieces of the cannon, and HR decides to invite her onto the team. And we get this really fun little, like, lovey proposal thing.
I loved that. I mean, I don't normally like little relationshipy things on shows, but I like when they're cute and cheesy, like how Barry and Patty were and stuff. I like that they have this on The Flash now, because, yeah, HR is really an endearing character. I mean, I love Tom Cavanagh and everything he does, but he's sort of been the light this year because everybody else has been down in the dumps. But, yeah, Ann Dudek's Tracy is really added, because I loved her as Cutthroat Bitch. I'm excited she's part of Team Flash.
You reminded me tonight that she was on House. It's been years since I watched House, and my jaw just about hit the floor. Like, I'm having the same reaction to this relationship that I think you are. When they introduced Tracy only, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
I went, well, we're real far into the season to be introducing a totally new character onto this team. Is this really, like, the best use of our time? And I'm so good with it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so happy she's around now.
And
She's
I think,
a scene stealer.
Yeah, and I think it's because, now Caitlin isn't really on Team Flash at the moment since she's Killer Frost. And then, where was Julian? That was my only question this episode. Yeah.
Brooding.
Yeah.
Being sad.
Yeah, he's like in his apartment looking at a picture of Caitlin, just wiping his tears with it. Remember, last episode, she was like, hey, bro, I don't
never
love
loved
you. I never have, and I never will. Friend zone.
Well, I mean, other characters get told that every episode, and then they're still, like, out there working on Team Flash or Team Arrow or whatever it is,
Yeah.
They just get out there and do it. I like Julian, but why do you have to be such a pussy? Called him out.
I almost wonder if it's because we got Wentworth Miller tonight and we were only allotted one special guest star per episode.
True.
Probably.
Yeah.
It would have been a little bloated, because especially as we were heading into the end of the episode, Julian would have been like, don't hurt Killer Frost, buh.
And that's too, like, right,
That's my British accent.
That is the sound.
Yeah, that was
spot
pretty
on.
good.
Spot on.
It's like a garbage just vomiting more garbage. What? Yes, I think his absence was a little bit conspicuous, but I agree. I don't know how we would have really serviced his storyline and his character with all of the other pieces that we had to move tonight. I assume he's going to be back next week in some capacity, probably to be very sad about the way things are going.
Yeah.
Maybe with some cure for Caitlin.
And actually,
Hopefully,
Charlie in
maybe.
Charge has a good comment. Julian is hiding in the forest. where Cisco and Caitlin are. So
He's ready to
ties
step
into
out
it.
and make a big emotional play at a crucial moment.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's like, I got my alchemist mask.
Garbage.
I'm a hero too. It was so weird. Anyways, so I lost my track. While this is going on, we have Earth 2 visitation. Wally takes over Iris and Joe in order to hide them. And I loved this moment where Iris and Joe are basically telling secrets from their childhood, where Iris used to sneak out and Joe essentially used all of the eating out food money to go on a cruise.
A blues cruise.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I want to go now.
It's a
It's exactly
I mean, I
what it
can
sounds like.
assume what it is, but it's just like, what is it like?
Just everybody's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Pretty
I mean-
much. And Blue Man Group is there.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming is like, some blues musicians, but is it like, all inclusive, like a cruise, or is it more just like a booze cruise? But he said it was like 3 days, I gotta know the logistics before deciding.
Also, the
know.
ship is powered by people blowing out the back of the ship. Yeah. And then they're like, I blew, and then I blew. And so, like, they just keep rotating. It's a really weird thing.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how that cruise works. Anyway, I thought it was beautiful. We also got to enjoy Joe's voice, which we
Yes.
don't
Oh,
get to
yeah.
enjoy enough.
Nowhere near enough. I understand that there's not necessarily a practical reason for Jesse L. Martin to sing in every episode of The Flash, but we could find one.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is I loved how Earth 2 Joe was a blues singer, and then you had the musical episode. But I think that we should just have karaoke night at Jitters or something, like every episode, just so we get to see him sing.
Kind of like the end of Ally McBeal. They'd always just get over there so they could sing.
Exactly.
All right.
And he was on that show.
It makes me think of like on Buffy, where they periodically just find a reason for Giles to be singing because Tony Head's got a great voice. Same deal. Just I don't Where's Joe? Oh, he's at that open mic at the coffee shop like he always is.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Joe West and he's just singing. It's beautiful, and we all cry for 2 minutes.
Of course.
It's a 2-minute sequence every week.
It's gotta be.
And he needs that now that Iris is dead.
He's gonna have to pour all of that energy somewhere.
Exactly.
And if Iris is leaving the show, we're gonna have a little bit of screen time that's going unused. Joe's just gonna sing through it.
Yeah, I think this will be really good for his career and his like overall character development. Just becoming the blues singer he's always wanted to be.
Singing detective, bro.
Well,
Ah, yeah. Ooh. Spin-off.
But okay, going back. I loved that scene because
Blues in blue.
blues and we're still there, aren't we?
Yep, no,
we're still
go
on
ahead.
that boat. We're still
You
on that
love it.
3-day cruise. So I love that scene because I feel like, although of course you know that the weight of Iris's potential impending loss is very heavy on Joe, I feel like the focus has been so much on Barry's relationship with Iris and Barry's relationship with his own sense of impending loss and feeling he has to do something about it. I'm really glad we took the time to have a moment that was just for Joe and Iris, where they could just be father and daughter for a second in the midst of all of this chaos. So that was very, very sweet, very touching.
Yeah. I agree. What did you think, Frank?
It's it is interesting, this whole season of where it's been, where very, as you were mentioning, that's a really good point about, in terms of it's very much very focused. But everything, all the ramifications for the season are all as a result of Barry's rage, his anger, his frustration, and this is what's led them to where they are right now. So it was really nice to see other characters, because it's like, yeah, come on, Barry, you don't live in a vacuum, and that's been so frustrating this season, where it's just been very much like it's all Barry's issue. It's all Barry's issue. It's like, no, Iris has many other people around in her life that are also going to be affected by this.
But that's why I like, and of course we haven't been here all season to talk about the Flash, but that's why, and I know it's pretty divisive, but that's why I love that the villain of this season, if we had to do another mystery speedster, turns out to be an evil version of Barry, a personification of the idea that Barry Allen is his own worst enemy, and his own issues are the ones constantly getting in his way.
and that's pretty well what the synonyms have been for the seasons. I mean, with first with Verse Flash, Zoom, and now we have just a very obvious, we've been doing this all along, and now it really is Barry is his own worst enemy. And that's why I predicted it at the end, because I was like, in the beginning of Savitar, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be some version of Barry, because it can't just be another speedster that we don't know.
And they were dropping hints pretty early, as it turns out. They literally said in maybe the second episode, they literally said, "I'm the future Flash."
Yes.
It's just, you just take that comma out, and they just spoiled the fourth to last episode of the season.
You just had to be really listening or watching with the captions.
But also, too, I feel like they have been laying this. They planted these seeds very early, and they've been laying the thematic track to such an extent that by the time we got to that reveal, and we've talked about it off mic a bit, but by the time they got to that reveal, I was going, there's almost no way it could be anyone else, and this story still makes sense. So again, next year they said they're not going to do another mystery speedster, which is a good call. I think we're good on those for a little bit, but if we were going to do another one, I think this was a very well played hand.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is this sort of wraps up the speedster villain for the Flash. I mean, because you can't really top being your own worst enemy at this point, just obviously. And that's why I'm glad that they've decided to go on from the speedsters.
And if they can get back to more of Barry how he was in the last episode, when he has his memory wiped, and he doesn't have that kind of all that dark backstory.
It's just lighter.
Yes.
He
To get more
eternal
of that.
sunshines himself.
Yes. To get more of those elements of Barry kind of leaking forward in season 4 would be really nice.
What, you don't like sad, broody Barry?
Man, a
Broody
little of
Barry?
that goes a long way.
And that's
For me.
Oliver's deal,
Yeah.
let Barry be the
Okay.
happy guy.
All
Yeah.
right. But Oliver's getting happier. They need to balance it out. It's like they are two sides of a coin?
You're getting your comic metaphors all mixed up here.
Oh, man.
But if you'd like to join the Gotham panel, we are looking for one.
Although
they-
Savitar Barry does
Yeah.
have the Harvey Dent thing.
Yeah.
He
a little
does.
bit.
I
bit.
really like Evil Barry. He
too.
is so, just the way that Grant Gustin plays it, it's very dark. It feels like a whole nother character.
Absolutely.
And he plays it so genuinely that you feel his pain. You feel every time he's like, I am not Barry Allen. You're like, no, son, you are not.
No, and that's the thing is Grant is such a good actor, and I know that when the Zoom reveal turned out not to be him, I think he said in an interview that he was really disappointed because he wanted to be a bad guy. So I guess they were like, "Well, good to know."
Do we have a storyline for you?
And Nate Milton is our people because he said coming to the CW next fall. Barry Allen is Christian Slater in My Own Worst Enemy.
Oh, I don't get that joke.
It was a random show from a few years ago starring Christian Slater.
I would watch an hour long that was just Grant Gustin doing a Christian Slater impersonation just solely for that. That's all you would need. You'd be like, this is on TV. I don't know who wrote it or if anyone even directed this thing, but he's doing a Christian Slater. I'd be like, when is it on? I'm there. I'm DVRing it. I'm buying the Blu-rays. I'm getting the season pass on iTunes.
It's just him like reading just like random books. He's like, it was the best of times. I don't know what Kristen Slater.
Yeah, he'd be like, hey.
It was the worst of times.
Wait. Is that your Kristen Slater? One more time.
You've got to slick back your hair and be like, hey.
That's actually not bad.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not bad.
Oh, Jesus.
I would watch it. I would internalize it. It would be my religion. It would be my food and water. It would be my sun in the sky.
Aw. You know what keeps our resources going? People going to iTunes and subscribing. And also leaving comments, making sure you hit that sweet, sweet star button. Ooh, 5 stars really keeps these lights on, food in our bellies and our mouths, in not that order. And it's simple, it's free, it's easy, just like this podcast. Simple, free, easy. And it only takes a little bit. Yep, that thumbs up is all we need. We feed on those thumbs up and those stars and those clicks.
That's right, Lex Michael.
Yeah. Then you know where you put those thumbs up? On YouTube, which we're also on. You know where else? On Stitcher, where we're also on. We are available any place that you want podcasts.
All of your fine podcast purveyors.
Heck yeah. So remember to do that. That's my iTunes pitch. And now we're going to talk about the show.
So you mentioned we do pay a visit to Earth 2, and I feel like now is maybe a good time to shout out the very obvious Easter egg that is the title of this episode. Obviously, Infantino Street presumably refers to the legendary Carmine Infantino, a major creative force in the Silver Age of comics, wrote a ton of books, including, but certainly not limited to, Flash of Two Worlds.
Well, he drew them.
He drew them. I'm sorry, I
Fox,
misspoke.
yes.
Yes, Gardner Fox wrote them. He drew them, but was instrumental in the creation of... This is why it's a good thing that Frank's here. Including Flash of Two Worlds, which introduced Earth 2 and the multiverse, if I'm not very much mistaken. So it seemed only fitting that we pay a visit to Earth 2 in this episode.
Although
Nice.
I would have liked if they would have got in the budget to get another establishing shot for Earth 2, because we saw the same one twice, very quickly tweet next to each other. I'm like, got it. We see the train coming by it on the track, and then it pans over to the Star Labs.
Frank, King Shark is very expensive.
All right, cool. I just forgo that other one. Just cut right to Star Labs and let us know. We were fine. I need to see the same shot again.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, all I need to see is Tom Cavanagh in that like turtleneck thing and the glasses, and I know where I'm at.
Right. I mean, I would like it if he turned to the camera and was like, man, it's so hard being here on Earth 2. That would work for
You
me.
needed that.
Doing some things.
Yeah.
I miss my friends who I haven't seen in a couple of months.
Yeah.
I would love to see them soon.
Where's my daughter? Is she making out with that kid? Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, a fan pointed out, because I was in Vancouver a few weeks ago, she tweeted me, because I had sent some pictures, at iBroccoli told me that I was actually on Infantino Street where they filmed this. It wasn't called that, I guess. But I know why I probably didn't remember or see the sign is because it was right across from New Amsterdam, which is a lovely little collective in Vancouver if you're near there. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Man, if you have the chance.
Yeah, so you know where it is. Look up New Amsterdam.
Savitar was going to.
That's
When he was
where-
like speeding around the square, he was just like busting in, grabbing it, just like Perry.
Now we know.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
His whole suit
Yeah.
is just one giant ball.
It started as like just a machine to get him really high. And then he was like, I can move in this. Wouldn't have even occurred to him if he wasn't blazed out of his mind.
Right, of course.
It was for the pain.
Yes, of his face. Yes. So we're leading up to this final moments of Iris's life which, sad face. And right before, as Barry's getting that sweet, sweet power device, I know it's sweet because I tasted it.
Oh, nice.
I also like that we tie it back to the Dominators.
Oh, yes.
It's fun. It's like, you remember that time aliens invaded? Me too. Moving on.
Yeah. I mean, and they left us the perfect power source that everyone needs.
exact thing
How
that you will need.
convenient. But as that's happening, Savitar tricks the guys into finding out where Iris was, which was a bummer town. But it was very genius on his part.
But I did like it gave a moment of HG to have that introspection where, because see, I mean, as enduring as he is, he can also be annoying at times. So for him to realize just, to recognize those traits in himself and just really take it upon him. I like just that moment of him going like, man, I'm such a jackass. What have I done?
Yeah.
And also, too, I love Cisco's response because
Yes.
all season we've seen all of these characters have to grow quite a bit and forgive one another for some pretty big trespasses. So I love that in this moment Cisco has internalized all of those experiences and he really has learned and grown. Not that Cisco was ever a petty jerk, but I like that we continue that thread into this exchange as well. I thought that was very nicely done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like HR, but yeah, like Frank says, you know, it could be a little annoying at times, but I think that's what sort of made his character a little bit endearing. He was sort of the light in the, you know, this season when everybody else was a little dark and gloomy. So, but I did like how Cisco, in this moment, even though he's not his favorite Wells, we all know it's Dick Wells from Earth 2, but yeah, he was like, no, I could have done the same thing. It was easy to screw up, and he was just giving him that nice little pat on the back.
Yeah, and I like that
It's
it was
good, buddy.
on the heels of his previous of his previous scene where he was saying that these guys are his family, you know, and he initially didn't feel welcome, and now he couldn't imagine being anywhere else. So to have this moment where he feels like he betrayed the people who are now his family after he had worked so hard to gain their trust, was amazing.
Yes.
Really well acted.
Yeah, and there's some great fan theories about, because you see that he seemed to want to rectify what he did, and I got this one on Twitter, and a lot of the chat's been saying it. At Kelly Girl Runs sent me this on Twitter tonight. She thinks that maybe HR became Iris with his device, and then it's actually him who was stabbed. And there's several people in the chat thinking the same
He's
thing.
got the fake
Yeah.
face thing, which I was thinking about a couple of weeks ago watching this show. Going, are we supposed to remember that he has that fake face he wears so he
Yes.
doesn't look like Wells, who everybody knows is not a nice person?
Yeah, so we were talking about that a few episodes ago on this show about how in the future, when they go to the future, he has his book that has his actual face on it as opposed to his like fabricated face. And so like that was a reminder that like that's a thing.
Right.
So there was a chance that he is out in the future. He's like, I'm just a Wells from another future. Or I guess another Earth. Semantics. Or if that was going to be a bigger thing.
Well, interesting with every season, he's always kind of assumed, Tom Cavanagh has always assumed a different Harrison Wells.
Yes.
Would you want to see him do another Harrison Wells in season 4 or continue being HR or Dick Wells?
I would rather just have a little rotating with Dick Wells and HR.
Okay.
You know,
And that's the thing, is like, just because we have him doing a new version that's our core version, if you will, for the season, doesn't mean we can't have these other versions of Wells pop in and out.
Which we have.
Right.
Yes.
I feel like we got to now. If Flash runs for 50 years, we need 50 different Tom Cavanagh performances. the dude is a good actor, man. He could
yeah.
he could do
Oh, yeah.
50 different Wellses. It's just, do we have a reason for him to? We'll find one. We'll find a reason for him to be a different
Right.
Wells.
Of course.
Yeah.
An infinite amount of Wells.
and one that does like a podcast with Michael Ian Black called Mike and Tom Eat Snacks. It's actually pretty good, guys. You know. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Can
Yeah.
the eventual crisis event that these shows must be building towards just be predicated solely on an infinite number of Welleses?
Yeah.
That'd be great. It would be like the Council of Ricks, but it's just
Yes.
Wells. That'd be nifty.
One thing that in this episode, certainly Barry tries his best to excuse himself for any time they're going to be doing any planning or logistics for the actual event where Savitar is going to kill Iris. Because
Yes.
anything he knows, Savitar is going to know. But I also felt like while it was an able attempt, he should have realized the fact that Savitar was not at all concerned about them getting the power source, constructing this gun 4 years ahead of time. The fact that he wasn't constantly bombarding, trying to kill the scientist or trying to stop them in any way, should give them a heads up that maybe Savitar's got something up his sleeve to prevent this thing from actually working.
Yes. So I was thinking about that as well, because we get this scene where Barry, I guess, or Savitar, he plainly states, no gun is gonna stop me. And so, like, you assume he has this other plan, but you could also assume that the team doesn't know that he's not worried, because Caitlin Frost has come in and tried to kill, not Tanya, Tracy. She's tried to kill Tracy before. So in their mind, he might just be, like, plotting and scheming as opposed to, like, not worrying about it.
Yeah, but I also feel like, I mean, he was in early enough trying to get our scientist friend on board, building her gun 4 years ahead of time, that just from that moment, Savitar knew that the whole deal was up. So, like, the fact that they should have known at that time that he knows everything that they've got planned, and even if he doesn't know the specific details, if he's not concerned about it, then that should be a red flag for the team. That
Right.
he knows it's not going to be an issue.
Well, like we were talking briefly before we got into the studio about. I mean, it's really easy to get into the weeds on the time travel stuff. But we were talking about how as long as Savitar continues to exist, that should be a pretty big red flag for the team that they did not ultimately succeed.
And
Right.
two, it is on Infantino Street, so you definitely get into the weeds there.
Man. But again, that's one thing that you could just sit there and just harp on constantly. It's also, you have to think, it's ultimately a comic book TV show. You have to
Right.
suspend your
Exactly.
intense critical disbelief to
Yeah.
enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean, Billie Jean Girl 24 even brought up Human Target. What if Human Target was Iris? You know?
Yes.
He's still floating around somewhere.
So there are a lot of, like, alternate ways that they could have tricked Savitar. So, like, leading up to this moment, before we get to the actual death piece, Cisco gets a flash of him fighting Killer Frost. And so now he's kind of heading out to his potential doom. So I like that little through line has kind of carried on, I think, since the second season when he first got his flash of them fighting, which I could be wrong about when that flash occurred, but correct me if I am.
Wasn't it? I thought it was season 3, wasn't it?
I
beginning?
didn't think it was that long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was within the same season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe this season has just gone on really long. That I'm like, completely different. It was season 1.
They do take these big hiatuses sometimes, and it feels
Right.
sometimes like one season becomes 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, I think I'm conflating the fact that he was very afraid of Killer Frost, or afraid of Caitlin after he met the original Killer Frost from Earth 2. So I might be putting those two things together. But either way, I like that fear is now realized. And we get the beginning of their fight, which could lead to him losing his hands based on the future that we've seen.
Hopefully not, because the Vibe is a really cool character. I feel like the show not to be able to have those abilities for Cisco's would be a little lesser for it.
And two, I like that Cisco has superpowers because to me, Cisco has been one of the best characters since day one. Carlos does a great job at providing so much depth in the character, and it's nice to see someone like him have superpowers when usually they're just the tech guy.
Yeah, and we did spend, and I don't begrudge Cisco his feelings, but we did spend a big chunk of time with Broody Cisco this year, and that's while
Yeah.
I accept Broody Cisco, certainly not my preferred brand of Cisco. So I can only imagine what losing his hands would do to the guy. That's not really something I'm too excited to see play out.
I mean, he was pretty zen in the future. He was like, "Hey, man, I just lost my hands, but Barry, come along. Let's tour the future."
But I guess that was 8 years ahead. So if we have to sit there and watch like for the next
Another 7
Yeah, like,
years
oh,
of
man.
sad Cisco.
Well, again, if he goes to Santino Street,
It's true.
There you
But anyway, this ultimately
like, it's
leads
just
up to
gonna
the
be a
final
long
confrontation, where they use the gun and it doesn't work because Savitar has the Philosopher's Stone in his hands, which we find out is a calcified shard of Speed Force.
And sure,
I mean, yeah, why not?
yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna-
that seems logical.
that's science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave science.
Yeah.
He siphoned it all into the thing, and then now he's free to be free forever. free forever.
And I love that Savitar calls them on, like, I spent an eternity in this prison. You really think I didn't have a failsafe to make sure that exact thing wasn't going to happen again? Because I do feel like if that had worked, that would have been a little bit too easy.
Yeah.
And I bought that the team really did put all their chips on this one number. I totally buy it in context, and I buy that was their play. But I would have been just a little let down if it had been that easy. And I'm glad that Savitar not only points out that it's not that easy, but rubs their faces in it.
Yeah.
Speaking of rubbing their faces in it,
here we go.
Mystic Lightning is the one to bring this up. So if you're playing the drinking game at home, kids, Malcolm was fine with losing his hand.
Wasn't fine with it.
he sat in that crappy apartment with the with the scotch every night.
I would argue Malcolm got that sweet metal hand, and he's like, if you're gonna lose a hand, at least get like a cool Sauron fist thing going. And,
Right.
and B, didn't have superpowers. So like he was probably real bummed, but he didn't also have that additional level of bummedness that comes with losing your vibes.
It's true. He didn't have powers, just power. But yeah, so ultimately all of their efforts were fruitless, and Iris was murdered to death, unfortunately. As far as we know. As we just see her collapse, and everyone cries and sad music plays.
Murder song, actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
Murder Song, which was the song that we opened with, if I remember correctly, by Aurora. Look it up. It's sad. It sounds great. And that's where we leave off. I think I'm going to jump into predictions because we're running short on time. So you can wrap in your thoughts about it with your predictions.
AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
So yeah, in the next episode preview, we get Barry holding Iris. There's a scene where Barry is essentially standing in front of damaged machinery, and it's like, bad stuff happened. I mean, what do you guys think is going to happen in the next episode, which is our season finale?
Well, it is nice that they use the transmorgifier in this episode, kind of to give the audience, if you wanted to go that route and have somebody else standing in for Iris, it's a nice little visual cue for the audience. Like, oh yeah, that is on the table. That is something that can be used.
Yeah.
Whoever may be taking her spot. Also, maybe, I don't know, AB, part of me is like, would it be cool if the show just actually killed her off and it's just up to Barry to embrace hope and not go down that deep, dark well that he went down originally? Mm-hmm. Could everything that he learned this season allow him to make a different choice, and by doing that stops Savitar? But I don't know if that would actually work, or would the show be lesser for regardless Iris is no longer a character on the show?
I would be bummed out because I feel like we finally got to a really good equilibrium with the Barry-Iris relationship. After a couple of years where I really liked both of these actors a great deal but wasn't quite feeling the two of them together, we got to a place where I'm actually in. I'm like totally in on this relationship. It took me a real long time to get here, you guys. I'm not ready to be hurt this way.
Yeah,
true.
and that's the thing is Flashpoint sort of reset that relationship, and it was just that little bit of change that to me seemed to really work into the groove. And to have it sort of end this way is really sad, but it is also, if she isn't dead, like where do they go from there? I mean, especially being a superhero show, and didn't Reverse Flash say Barry can never be happy? That's kind of what I worry about, is if she's not dead, where are we going with Barry? Because we know he's prophesized to never be happy anyway.
I'm also wondering too, I like the idea of Barry maybe really genuinely suffering this loss and having to find his way back to hope despite it. But then the question becomes like, how this dude loses a family member essentially every season.
Yeah.
Like, where is this dude's breaking point where he does actually potentially risk becoming somebody like Savitar? And maybe that is exactly what we're going to be exploring next week.
Potentially. Do you guys think that Iris's video of her essentially marrying Barry in video form will make a difference in his decision, or not decision, but like his becoming
made a
dark
difference
character?
in my eyes. They filled with tears, bro.
True story.
I think we're going to leave it with that.
All right.
We can't talk.
Oh, man. Thank you for joining us here on AfterBuzz TV. This has been the Flash After Show, and I thank everyone on my wonderful panel. You legends, tell them where they can find you.
Hey guys, since I'm Lacretia Lyon, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one.
I am Lex Michael. I am all over social media at the Lex Michael. I also talk about Arrow on Wednesday nights with Tauri Miller. We're going to be there this week and next week, and then there's no more Arrow this season. Also, I talk about Fargo on Thursdays. That's a day of the week, right?
That is a day.
Talk about it on that one. Come join us. We love you.
I'm Frank Brand. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. Speed off, everybody.
Yes.
Nice. And I'm Tauri J. Miller. You can find me at Tauri J. That's TauriJay. Make sure to join us here on the AfterBuzz TV for the season finale of The Flash next week, 9 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time on Tuesday. Look forward to seeing you. Have a good one.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later, Barry.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.